Hi, I'm Cynthia Schiller. Please like and subscribe. We're going to talk about how to take back some of this control. We got all caught up in these narcissistic relationships, but sometimes we can't really leave them, whether it's a work situation, family units, whether it's an outside brought in. So what's so confusing is when we were with like a narcissistic partner, they would control through flattery, but sometimes it turns even more dangerous than that, where it starts to be manipulation through threats, physical abuse. So they have all these different tactics, and it's important to take back our control. So in a sense, we don't want to necessarily manipulate our narcissist, but we want to take a stand and we want to set boundaries. So we need to have them healthy, something that works for both us and in a sense, the narcissist, because they are people too. And in order to get people to work with you, it has to be done in the right way. Otherwise, it's not going to work for either party. So we have to decide what is acceptable, what behaviors do we accept, and which ones are not acceptable. Hold tight to what you believe you deserve, because you're worth something. And during the abuse that we've gone through, we've kind of lost a sense of ourselves. They talk about the mirroring, how we fell in love with ourselves. And I want you to take this to heart. The narcissist saw something good in us, and it was a reflection. So a lot of people say that we fell in love with ourselves. So during that love bombing stage, if you can connect that part of your memory to just how wonderful things were, how wonderful you were, because they say you fell in love with yourself. That's who you are. Take control back. Don't accept the abuse that you've been going through. So some of these things that have gone on, sometimes maybe you were called out some names. People that are narcissistic often shout or scream at us. They might blame us for their problems that they caused. They'll shift it onto us, and they'll criticize us, make fun of us, make us feel terrible. They'll be demanding on us, expect things that are unreasonable. They'll lie to us, deny it later. They can threaten us. So we have to decide what is acceptable. Like, are you okay with being yelled at? Does it matter when they yell at you? So whatever your boundaries are, whatever makes you feel comfortable and whole again. But remember that you have a lot of worth. And we have to express in a very direct but kind of gentle manner. Otherwise, it's going to be ineffective. So make sure it's kind of gentle, but you have to stand firm to it. So you might say something like, we enjoy the time that we have together with this person, but we need to leave if they shout at us again, or if they call us a name. Or we might be say something like, we're happy that they called us, but if you keep yelling at me, I need to hang up. And if that happens, we have to follow through on that, because sometimes because of who we are, our empathetic heart, we keep giving chances after chance. And that's when the narcissist takes the control. So just keep your tone nice and calm, friendly, and don't get angry. So don't shout back. A lot of times we like that reactive abuse, which just fuels the fire. They feed off of that. It gives them power because they feel like we're losing power, because as often as we take a stand, they're just going to knock it down. They're never going to let us win. So if we say that we're going to hang up, if they keep yelling at us, we need to do that. So make sure you follow through, and make sure it happens in a timely manner where you don't give chance after chance, or try to talk it through, because then they need to respect us again, to where they're going to lose some power. And in order for them to feel like they're gaining power, they have to kind of follow the rules. So if they ever violate one of your boundaries, make sure it's set, kind of set it in stone. And if we've warned them, that we're going to hang up, we have to follow through. And sometimes it's hard for us, but I think it's respectful that we told them what was going on. Don't give them a second warning. You already said it once. We give them chance after chance. That's where things fall apart. And sometimes if they apologize or convince us to stay on the phone, We have to have that, no more second chances. We got to stand firm. And we do have to be aware though that actually might change our relationship. But our relationship with a narcissist is already uncomfortable for us. So once we start setting boundaries, narcissists hate boundaries, but we have to keep consistent with them. In order for the lesson to be learned. We're all messed up because they did that intermittent reinforcement. And it was very destructive. So if we want to have something constructive, we have to maintain some consistency so they know what to expect, that they can't get away with things over and over again. And if they want to speak to us, unless they're speaking kindly, we're not going to engage in it. So even though the change might be noticeable, we have to make sure that it's consistent, that it stays that way. So we can't back down. We have to continue with that. So we have to reflect, regroup. If we become lax with our boundaries, we have to reestablish them. Sometimes it's hard to change who we are. We have that empathetic heart. We care about the person, whether it's a lover or a coworker. We have a genuine love for people. If you notice narcissist, sometimes if, there's somebody in a car accident, they either laugh about it or, haha, that's what they get for speeding. And they don't realize the value of a human life because they see people as objects. Sometimes they might have an inner circle that they care about, but anybody outside that circle, they're just objects. A lot of times they're like that with animals. Their hearts are just different. And it's kind of like the heart and the brain are connected some way, that because all that brain damage, they don't process things and it doesn't lead into their heart. They can't pull from their heart. They don't feel the love like we do. And, sometimes we might get distracted in everyday things. If it's at work, you might have been distracted doing something and the person yelled at you and you just wanted to finish up quickly. So you accepted it, but you have to maintain those boundaries. Otherwise it's just going to fall apart again. So just keep being persistent. And when we respond to their behavior, make sure it's like not reactive abuse, because then we're just putting abuse on them. They're going to abuse us back. It's a never ending cycle. Always try to keep the situation calm. That's going to be hard to do. So don't feed their fire. So it's okay to walk away from the person. I always think it's nice to acknowledge that, we're going to have to do this later when we can talk in a calm voice, or when we're not going to yell, or when we can communicate effectively. Narcissists don't like to communicate effectively. They'll do those word salads and make your mind spin with their circulatory type talk. So unless it's effective, don't engage in it. And I found with my second narcissist, I had used the effective communication, please, made a huge difference, because I was always, but this is why I want you to say this, and this is hurting my feelings, or can you explain this, or I don't understand. Just say effective communication. They're smart people. They know what you're talking about. They know they're getting to the end of the line. Don't allow them to call your names. It's okay to tell them that that's unacceptable, and shut them down when it comes to that. So, when they talk to us, listen attentively, because that's what we want. And, we should say, I understand, or, and try and encourage them to get their feelings out, because that's where the connection happens. And, if they say they had a bad day, ask what they mean. Because sometimes they'll lash out on us for things that are totally not related to us. They just know that we're a punching bag. They need to talk. It's often not even about us. Somebody they feel a safety net in is who they're going to lash out on. So if you're a husband or wife, you're the closest person to them. You're going to get the brunt of the abuse. So instead of accepting the abuse, try to help them understand where the abuse is coming from. and tell them they got to calm down with all the abusive tactics, but don't do it in a direct way. Do it in an indirect way where you're trying to get to the heart of it. Like, oh, I'm sorry. It sounds like you're upset. What happened at work today? Or instead of, shouting back, don't yell at me. I don't deserve that. It's really difficult to have these relationships because it should never even get to this point. But be careful of that reactive abuse. Instead of doing that, definitely try to, sometimes we need to distract them by asking about a topic of interest that interests them. So acknowledge what they're saying, give them your answer and say, we're moving on now. We're going to agree to disagree, and just try to change the tone of it. So we need to still show empathy. Don't do it to the point where, if somebody abuses you, that you allow that, if they're physically abusing you, that's never okay. Unless it's a life-threatening situation, we shouldn't touch each other, unless it's for a hug or a kiss. But, say things like, you must have felt very upset that you had to wait for such a long time, and apologize. I'm sorry. I tried to get here sooner. I wish I could have. Instead of like, stop yelling at me, the traffic was bad. It's hard to do sometimes because, we're already frustrated that we're doing as much as we can. And we should relate to their feelings because we want them to relate to ours. Often if we do that for them, they're a little bit better on doing it for us. But it's hard to control our reactive abuse. And there's only so much we should take as well. But the balance is that's that walking on eggshells, but it's good to ask them, like, what's really bothering you? I can tell you're upset. Instead of focusing on us, realize there's probably an outside source and ask them what's going on with that and address that. So don't feed into their superior self-image, which is a key feature of these narcissistic personalities. They feel superior to other people. And because of that, they gravitate towards people like us. And it just often makes matters worse, so don't give them exactly what they want. Sometimes they'll fish for compliments. They'll often brag about themselves. Don't feed into that fire. Don't go above and beyond. And, you can give them some compliments, but if the person's going on and on about what a great person they are, you can say, wow, you had a great week at work. That's great. But what are you doing this weekend? So just kind of like a little acknowledgement to them, because they did say a sentence, but you don't want to stroke their egos too much, because then they're going to see you as a fuel supply. And that's something we have to de-escalate, because we don't want to inflate their sense of grandiosity. We don't want to feed into their vulnerability, the poor me thing. You have to change. It's so weird with narcissists. It's a whole different world with them. Be really careful to use non-accusatory language when we express ourselves. Use we instead of I or you. We can turn it to, we can use I sometimes, where it's like, I feel a little bit hurt by your actions, as opposed to saying, you did this wrong, you are careless, you are clueless, and to, in a sense, take away some of the stress, because they're feeling all this stress. And I'm not saying coddle to them, but try to rebalance it a little bit. We can do our part. If it doesn't work, it's time to walk away. But all this research that you guys are doing on YouTube or Google is going to be helpful. Watch out for those red flags, because narcissists are super prone to lying. And if something conflicts within themselves, they'll lie to avoid facing whatever this conflict is. And a lot of times we don't get accurate information from them. We might get the gaslights, the white lies, the omission. Omission is just about the same as lying, because they're fooling us, and a lie is meant to fool us. So if they tell us a story about something that happened at work and it kind of makes them out to be a hero, sometimes we have to like double check exactly what happened. You'll feel in your gut what the truth is. So you guys are probably on these YouTube channels because you know something's not right. You know, when the relationship fell apart, there's really no logical reason for two people in love or a family member to have such destructive interactions with each other. So if you need to find some help or support, I have found some places on Facebook that I've been checking into. What is it? NAMI, N-A-M-I. They have some support groups that you might want to check into if you check through Facebook. There are free mental health things out there. Some of you might have some insurance that might cover it, or your work might encourage mental health. Phone calls, if you're suicidal, there's suicidal hotlines. Definitely reach out to your friends. Ask family for support. I don't mind doing videos on specific topics for you guys. So definitely let me know if there's something that you don't quite understand in this narcissism world. I'd love to help you. And, instead of arguing with the person, if you're stuck in that situation, limit contact with them. Keep it as healthy as possible. Don't fuel the fire by fighting, arguing. There's got to be boundaries, and they have to know once those boundaries are broken, time's up, that we're not going to entertain it anymore. And that's going to be hard for you. That's the only way it's going to work. So I wish you guys luck. If you want, you can find a therapist that can help. Sometimes you might need to get a referral or ask other people that have, narcissism is such on the rise that you'll be surprised how many people have found therapy to be helpful. But definitely get your feelings validated. That's what this Facebook has been so good for me. Or I'm sorry, YouTube. YouTube's been really helpful for me because people understand. It's almost like for 20 some years, people didn't understand what I was saying. People didn't understand why I stayed. People didn't understand why I wanted to work through it. A lot of you have families, and you're focusing on, I don't want to leave because of the family, or I don't want to leave because of religious, I made a vow to my God. But abuse is not what God wanted for us. He created, in my eyes, marriage as a safety net, in sickness and in health. It was supposed to be a safety net, not a prison sentence. So do some soul searching and set your boundaries. If you can leave these situations, leave them. See what the outcome, which is worth it to you. If you have a narcissistic boss, are you able to leave? Is there another job close by? Some of you live rural, or, you got lucky, didn't have a degree and they accepted you in. You have certain finances. Sometimes that's why a lot of people stay in these relationships, because they're drained of their resources. Narcissists will do that to us. So try to rebuild up your resources. And there are domestic abuse shelters. Feel free to communicate with me on any of your needs. I'd like us to help each other, and I will see you in the next video. And hopefully you'll like me on Facebook, a soul survivor, trying to get that channel to grow too. And I'll see you in the next video. Have a good day.